So we started the trip in Melbourne, heading out to Taiwan. We then headed to Rita's brother's house, which is based in Taichung.
To see the whole view of the city.
For lunch, we went to this pickled fish restaurant. I thought it was interesting because of the anime style in the restaurant. Driving around, we stumbled across this RC track. They even had a section for RC four-wheel driving. And then for dinner, we went to the King of Hot Pot. Inside, the meat was really good quality. And Rita's brother and wife even splurged and got the whole package, as you can see here. If you're visiting Taichung, this lookout is a really good place to come at night. It's very popular if you want to see Taichung City. Right where we were staying, there was this EK9 Civic with spoon brakes. It was a bit rusty, doesn't look like it gets used that much. And then next to it was also this Mark IV Golf. Next day we went to Libao racing track. It's a really good place to visit. Inside they have a display here with some rally cars, and they even had a rally spec chaser here. And they have some other race cars in here as well as Ferraris, and they had this Rocket Bunny 86 as well on display. Civic at the front.
Whoa.
They're all Civics.
Wow.
Civic race. We paid for some of the VIP tickets, which allows you to go upstairs and view the track over the main straight, and it also came with some food and drinks. At the track they also have go-karting if you're interested in that. Later on there was some TCR racing as well. After the racing's finished, they allow you to go into pit lane where you can see the TCR as well as the Civic race cars. Fortunately, most of the Civics had left already because their race finished earlier, but it was still good to go into the garage and see all of the other cars on display. These guys here from DK Road Robber were based in Taipei, and they were pretty nice to talk to and even invited me out next time to drive their cars at the track. After this, we stumbled across Car Baby, which is kind of like a super cheap autobahn in Taiwan. They're an independent store, but you can buy tires, brake upgrades. They even had strut bars in here and also coilovers that you can spec in your car. And also upstairs they even had a selection of aftermarket wheels which you can buy for your car. That night we went out for Japanese barbecue. This place was really good. The quality of the meat was pretty high. The next day we headed back to the airport to fly to Nagoya. As you can see, I'm pretty excited. Yo, HKS, hook me up.
It's a bit like Vegemite.
Vegemite.
So next we went to Nagoya Castle, and first I thought this was the castle, but then we went inside and then I thought this was the castle, and we went a little bit further and then I realized that actually this is the castle, and it was actually built in 1615. In 2009 they actually refurbished this section of the residence which you can see now. This was also for government meetings. This was a little building where they had photos of the woodworking in 2009 when they rebuilt some sections. For lunch we went to get some Japanese eel rice. This was really good. If you visit Japan you got to try it, and this was some miso beer as well. But the flavour on this eel was really good. It's a bit expensive, but if you visit Japan, you must try this.
这2块是什么？腌的。
That evening, we went back into Nagoya town centre and we stumbled across some of these machines which are everywhere in Japan, but it's quite rare to find some car ones. I got some Initial D as well as a GTR steering wheel. The next day we went on a day trip which Rita booked through Klook, and it took us to 2 different places. The first one was Takayama City. After this we went to Shirakawa, which has Wada House with old traditional style buildings.
It's a little train.
So the bus stopped halfway, and as you can see here, this is a snow resort actually in winter. Takayama City is famous for its markets as well as the old buildings. So this was a market which was just closing up as we arrived, so you want to get here before midday. But you can buy a lot of souvenirs, and it's also famous for its local fresh produce. They're blessing him in his castle. For lunch, we went to this local restaurant to try some Takayama beef from a local farm, and this was really good and quite traditional restaurant, but I'm not sure whether they had a special English menu just for us with some other prices, because it is quite expensive as you can see, but the food was definitely worth the price in the end after eating it. The price?
Oh, it looks good. It's not working.
Did you see the price?
Yeah. Do you want me to pick up and see it inside?
Next, we're at the UNESCO World Heritage Shirakawa-go. This is a traditional Japanese village. In winter, it does snow here, They have quite traditional building methods such as the burning of the timber and the straw roofs. The straw on the roofs have to be about a foot thick. There's also quite a few koi and other fish swimming in the streams around the buildings. While you're here, you can visit Wada House. This was a house that was passed down through generations, which is now on display. And it was originally built in 1573. And it allows you to go upstairs as well and see in the roof on how they've actually constructed the building. Dong Dong, be careful. Sunshine. The next day, while we're in Nagoya, we went to Studio Ghibli, or Ghibli theme park. And this is a theme park based off the movies made in Japan. Unfortunately, they didn't allow filming inside, but the level of detail of the decorations inside was absolutely stunning. It's tiny. that afternoon we had a bit of free time and we headed out of Nagoya to go visit an up garage, and on the way there we came across some pretty cool cars in the car park nearby. There was even this sick 4-door 32 GTS T. Inside was pretty amazing. They just have an interesting selection of car parts that are used. Some of them are new that you can purchase inside. Every store has different inventory. Rita, these are all used radios, stereos. SR20. Oh my god, all coilovers. Wow. Wow. These are just grills, body kits. The next day we headed out and we saw Mount Fuji from the distance. No snow this time because of the year. And we went to Izukogen Station, which is near these local resorts in the area famous for their onsen. This area was a lot more relaxed coming from Nagoya, as it's more in the countryside, and we stayed at Akazawa Onsen Village, which has a really nice view over the water. Following that we went to Matcha Mountain. In this case, luckily they had a chairlift which can take you to the top. And you can see here from the picture on the left why it's called Matcha Mountain. While you're in the area, also Katawaki Suspension Bridge is another popular attraction. It has some really good views of the cliff face as well as the water. There's also this ball which we didn't go see, but you can trek down to the bottom and it looks kind of like a round meteorite. The next day we headed to Tokyo and we checked out the train station on the outside. The inside is even bigger. There's 4 levels, there's shopping, there's restaurants. It has everything that you pretty much need to see. And we went to the Tomica store, which was inside, and I could see them actually making some cars. You can make your own custom car in there. And of course I had to buy everything they had. The next day we were walking around and stumbled on Nissan Crossing. If you're in Tokyo and you're not too busy, this is a good place to go. They had this electric race car in the window, and as well as a R35 T-Spec GTR, which you can go inside and take photos of.
This is Nissan's first post-war Philips 79.
Every few days they rotate out the cars which are on display, so there's always something new to see. The second level they have some more cars on display, and they have this old Skyline 2000 GT. And while you're up there they also have a cafe which you can buy Nissan themed food and drinks, as well as this shop where you can buy Nissan themed merchandise, and of course it's got Nissan and Nismo tax, so everything is quite expensive here. I ended up picking some of these GTR shirts, as you can see up the top, as well as a 32 GTR car. For lunch we headed to try some authentic Japanese barbecue, where I tried some raw beef for the first time. If you're in Tokyo, you have to go to Scramble Crossing and take a video. Every 5 minutes or so the crossing happens, and there's just hundreds of people crossing in all different directions here. Next to the crossing you have Shibuya Sky. This is a lookout on top of a nearby building which looks over all of Tokyo. Rita had to book this a month in advance to get this afternoon or sunset viewing session. But it was definitely worth it, and the weather was on our side this day and we could see everything pretty clearly.
ません。
The next day we went to Tokyo Disneyland. This was something that I wasn't particularly looking forward to, but I was actually quite surprised with the amount of effort that they put into the park, the buildings, as well as the rides. First ride we went on was a Toy Story Buzz Lightyear themed ride where you had a gun which you had to shoot for some points, and you had a joystick which could control steering the cart.
ジョイスティックを操作せよ。
After that we headed to Peter Pan's flight. This one wasn't really that good. Probably more of a kids themed ride, this one. It was the same story for the Snow White and her Seven Dwarfs Mine. This was also a little bit boring. After that we went to the Monsters Inc. ride. This one had a bit of a queue on it, but this was a pretty good ride actually. Next was Beauty and the Beast. This was probably by far the longest line of the day. We waited about an hour and a half outside to see this clip. After that, then they had another half an hour line for the second part of the ride.
They look like robot vacuum.
Itoshi mademoiselle, 今宵あなたをお迎えしますことは最高の誇り、最大。
Next we went on It's a Tiny World. I'm not really familiar with this ride, but you can see some of us are starting to get tired. They even had an Australian themed section with platypus, koalas, kangaroo, and an Aboriginal boy on display. At this point we had the first victim where Mandy had fallen asleep on the ride. During the day they also have a parade where they showcase all the main characters in the movies. This is the best ride on the park, so make sure you go on this. I didn't film it because of the water. At night you need to stay around for the light parade, which is quite good. And if you didn't have enough of Disney the day before, we went back to Disney again for Disney Sea, which is like the whole thing all over again, but at a different park next to it. And you can see here even 2-hour plus waits for some rides. If you don't want to get wet, don't go on this ride. We got absolutely drenched. Next we went on this Hotel Hightower, which is like a dropping ride. That was pretty good, recommend. This ride down the bottom wasn't that good. And Toy Story we waited 2.5 hours for, and it wasn't too bad. You can see Rita's legs were getting pretty tired here after waiting so long. They have a Venice themed section as well where you can ride on one of these boats. And then at night, like the other Disneyland, they have a light show which was pretty good, and it's themed on the water as well. The next day we hit up Asakusa, which is more like a traditional themed market, and they have a temple. While we were there, I decided to check for good fortune.
What number?
49.
49. And we got 5 49. Oh, it's good luck. Yeah. Good.
This restaurant's right near the temple, and it's pretty good if you want to try some Japanese beef, and you get to cook it yourself on this stone table. After this, our Japanese trip was over and we headed back to Taiwan, and we went out to get some beef noodle soup as well as some asparagus drink and some wonton noodles before we headed to Pushin Ranch because I really wanted to see some capybara. These really are some weird animals. Their hair kind of feels like a broom, but their feet are webbed like a duck but shaped like a chicken, and they lay in the mud like a pig. and they've got some front teeth that look like a rabbit, but they sit like a dog. So it's a bit weird to describe what this animal really is. They also have an amphibious mode where they can swim underwater.
He's walking the head for you.
这一次反而是橘色的比较。
他觉得太多人了，是不是？
没有吧？我觉得他应该是觉得比较小。
This was also the first time I'd seen an albino raccoon in real life. If you're into gambling, they also have pig racing where you can bet on the pigs. After this, we went to Taxi Old Street in Taichung as well, and we ate some food there that I wasn't too keen on, but the other girls really enjoyed it. This was one of this famous soy restaurant where everything's just cooked in soy. That night we went to Fengchi Night Market. This place is really good. If there's Taiwanese food you want to eat, this place just has everything. It also has some really good clothes shopping as well, and it's open pretty late. This is like a rice sausage with a meat sausage inside of it. The beef? This one's one of Rita's favorites, and it's deep fried mushrooms. There's about 4 or 5 different styles in there, and it actually tastes a lot better than you think.
讨论。
对，怎么说？
This game is everywhere in Taiwan, and I'm gonna go ahead and call it gambling. But essentially you just gotta fill as many spots as possible, and you get tickets based on how many you can put the ball in. Next day went to Fongjia Market, which is near Rita's brother's house, because Rita felt like doing some cooking. Here they have fruit, vegetables, meat, fish, clothes. As you can see, there's a bit of everything here. And she wanted to get some mochi, which was sesame flavored. It was the first time I'd seen someone actually make it.
看看哦，要鱼吗？无锅鱼活的1只70，如果有活的海，无锅有活的多面的海鱼心情。来，跟着哦。软一点的，这种比较硬。
On Saturday we went down to Nantao, or Nantao, however you say it. This place is kind of like the Daikoku PA of Taichung. Saturday nights, people with their cars come down here for meets, and it's pretty infamous for that. Fortunately, this weekend we went, it was the Moon Festival, so a lot of people were out barbecuing, so there wasn't too many cars to see, but there was still a couple which I managed to get on film. Next day we went out for hot pot that evening and caught up with some of Rita's friends and gave them some Australian snacks.
They can't remember what they bought.
Then after that we went to Tiger Sports. Here they have an arcade, bowling, darts, baseball. We tried everything, and as you can see here, Rita's trying to learn how to bowl. On the last day we stopped by Suyi, which was a workshop just down the road from where we were staying, and the guys here were really nice enough to show us around. You can check out the full video with the link in the description. Alright guys, that wraps up another video. Hope you've enjoyed this one. It's a little bit different to the other videos we have on the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know down in the comments. If not, the next episode we'll get back into working on the cars. Thanks for watching.